Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Friday Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantal, your hostess with the mostest, everything. By now we know that, right? And as our beautiful guest tonight, Holly Baglio will attest to, because today I think is the third interview that I'm doing with Holly. And wow, some amazing information coming up. Obviously, for those who don't know, not obviously, she is a Montauk survivor, um, MK Ultra survivor, Satanic Ritual Abuse, all these crazy things that we've been hearing so much about over the past few years. So, yeah, but before I bring Holly on, just a reminder that tomorrow, Saturday at 6 o'clock, same time as now, wherever in the world you are, so at 6 p.m. Central Africa time, Beverly Road for members. So become a Arrow Tribe member, and we will be doing a Q&A with the amazing Beverly Rose. So I think that's all for the weekend. Of course, Sunday Loop we have as well, and that's at 6 o'clock on Sunday, where we replay our earlier shows from our survivors way back then. So check out the schedule and let's just see what's on every week. Okay, everybody? Yay. Holly, how are you, beautiful?
Good. Thank you for having me back. Thank you. And hello to everybody in the chat room.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. It really, really is. Just to answer a question, sorry, Tammy. Unfortunately, I can't bring the Patreons onto membership. But what I do with membership is that I will re-record it and then post the recording onto Patreon. So yeah, it's just one of those things I have tried. It's not because we don't want to, but it's because of, I don't know, the way they do it. So unfortunately not. But we will post it a day or two afterwards. Anyway, so yay. It's been great catching up with you, Holly, for the past 2 weeks that we have. Today is the third week. And just, your survivor journey has been quite incredible. So I think what we'd like to focus on maybe this evening is to talk about when you started waking up and what that was like. Maybe you can go more into detail for us on the triggers that got you waking up and what that actually meant for you, that journey. If you, and, I think it must be quite something to adapt into society again, um, especially once you've woken up to a whole different reality and trying to adjust the life you've been led or been living for X amount of years, and then suddenly realizing so much more has been going on that the parallel life, I guess, because you were actually living a parallel life, right?
Yes.
Maybe you can explain that a bit as well. Basically, that you lived a seemingly normal life on the surface, but behind the scenes and beneath the surfaces, there was a lot more going on.
Yeah. In this normal life, it seemed like they always had a person or appearance as a handler or somebody from the dumps. For instance, and I hate to use names, but there was a person named Michael Prince in the dumps. And, well, my stepbrother's name was Michael. Um, I had a primary care physician from the time I was 17 years old all the way up until the time the doctor retired. And he looked exactly like one of the other programmers. He had the exact eyebrows piercing up and just the spitting image of a programmer that I had in the dumps. So all that did was keep the MK Ultra program, like, instilled it, just reinforced the MK Ultra programming. So I stayed dumbed down. I did not wake up. I was not clued into the fact that they were using me. It did not help that they programmed me not to remember. And also, as I got older, I was a part of these rituals where you swear not to say anything, and you do a ritual or a sacrifice, and you promise not to betray any of the secrets that you know or what happened. But in this normal life, it just seemed that there were things that would reinforce the programming of the dumbs. What happened was, let's see, 2012, I started looking up like the New World Order and what was happening in the world. And 2013, I read a book by, her first name is Betty Eady, Embraced by the Light. And that started to trigger memories in me. And the kind of memories it was triggering me in me were, I was remembering the time period from before I was born on Earth. I know that sounds crazy, but that book started to trigger me. And I started to turn to my creator. And I was looking up things online such as angels and demons. But the big thing was, I'm fully disabled. But back in 2014, I was actively taking 12 out of 33 prescriptions my doctors had me prescribed on. I made a decision that I wanted to come off of those prescriptions, and I relied on my faith. And I believe my creator told me, Holly, I made the marijuana plant, now go use it. And I did, and I was able to detox and come off of all of those prescriptions. And I did a Donald Trump. I fired all my doctors. I said, I don't need you. I'm done with your prescriptions. But when I used the cannabis, I had a flash flood of memories. But before that flash flood of memories really happened, I was having these bleed through memories. And it was very strange, because if I went food shopping or out in the public, I would see blood on people's faces. Not everybody's face, but just about on every single person's face. They would have like a blood spot on their face. And I remember asking my friend, one of my friends at the time, like, what is this? What's happening to me? Like, I know there's not blood on their face, but like, I guess with my spirit eyes, however you say it, there's blood on their face, but it makes me angry. It makes me feel like fighting. And I get a weird smell in my nose, and it's reminding me of war and violence and fighting, and it's making me angry. And well, when I was online looking up different things, I came across some videos that had said something about super soldiers. I kept shrugging it off. But also during that time, I was really relying on my creator. And one day, honestly, what happened was I got the tap on the shoulder, and my creator said, Holly, don't you remember when you were a little kid? And all of a sudden, the demonic attacks that I used to experience as a small child started coming back. And what I mean by that is I'd wake up at night and there would be like a shape or an eyeball right next to my face. And I'd have to blink a few times and then it would sink back in the wall. But these demonic attacks started coming back. And when that started happening, the memories came back. And sure enough, it's when I had a flash flood of memories. But that's what reminded me of the kids in the cage. And then I kept having these reoccurring dreams of the kids in the cage being electrocuted, except I'm there. Or there's a group of kids and we're being raped and we cannot stop the adults. It's the adults that are bringing us to the other adults that are doing this. They're all a part of it. They're all in on it. There's no one to go to. So online, I actually finally stopped and clicked on one of those videos. And I believe I actually recognized the person speaking in the video. And the person in the video was talking about the kids in the cage. And like there was one game that we had to play with the flags. I'm not sure if I told you that one with the color pink. Did I tell you about the flag game? Well, so in the video, there's somebody speaking and he talks about this flag game, and I'm going to tell you about it. But I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute. The only way that he would know the memories in my head is if he was there. And of course, time went on, months went on, where I was then knew some words to look up: MK Ultra, alters, super soldier. I didn't know what was happening to me. So for almost a year, I was in complete darkness, thinking I was losing my mind, having a midlife crisis. I didn't know what was going on. Demonic possession, and who do I go to for that? And I don't have money or a means of travel, not to get any distance. But so there was another person in a video that had said, and these were key words, trigger words: there are no coincidences. And when I heard that person in the video say there are no coincidences, that's when it was like, okay, then this is real. I was on Mars searching for dolphins. That's not a figment of my imagination. And you were there. And that's when everything started clicking, was there are no coincidences. And I had to untangle my mind. I had to untangle what was a dream and nightmare or a spiritual attack. I had to differentiate what was a memory, a true memory. So what I did for that was I started drawing pictures. I started drawing everything inside my mind, whether it was a dream, whether I thought it was a dream from my creator, or whether I thought it was a memory, whatever it was, whatever pictures were in my mind, I started to draw them down and then write a description underneath so I could always remember. But I tried to be as detailed as I could, because it felt like once I got it out and it was all gone and I didn't have to remember it again. And after some time, I just naturally forget about details, because now I don't have to worry about it. It's out. So drawing things, writing things down really, really helped. Having a diary with the date and time and my thoughts and feelings, that really helped, because I didn't know I had alters, but when I woke up, I had to get to know what alters were and what to do with them, because now I had them. So journalizing was really valuable. But anyway, so in this one video, there's this man talking about the white lab coats. They were Germans, and the atrocities that were happening to the kids. And they were programming us to be used as assassins later, but also to be used for the Fourth Reich Rising. And people want to say the New World Order, but I kind of see things differently, and excuse me for that. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad or debate anybody, but the way I look at it is what we're facing now is the Fourth Reich Rising. So
Right.
we were, yeah, like, for me personally, I can't speak for all the other MK Ultras out there, but they programmed me to be used in the future So when this Fourth Reich rises and we go into this one world government, they would have called me forward to be used. And I personally don't want that. But anyway, so in the video, the guy
Can I
keeps...
ask you?
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, when you talk about them training you kids as assassins for the Fourth Reich, can you maybe go into a little bit of detail about what you were trained to do? I understand. I don't want to obviously ask you about stuff you can't talk about. So if there's anything you can talk about, what were you trained to do? And can you give us a little bit of detail on that?
Yeah, I would tell you everything if I could remember. And if the memories come back clearer, I will definitely tell you, Shanti. I just, boy, I remember bits and pieces. I don't know if this is important or not, but they sent me and another, I think, soldier, or it could have been a programmer, out to do a Rothschild assassination attempt. And we cased the place for 3 weeks. And the Rothschild was holding a banquet. And when it came time, me and the other, I'll say soldier for now, we were decked to the nines. And he went into this banquet, and I stayed out in the vehicle being cover for him, watching what was happening. But also I had psychic abilities, so I was used for those psychic abilities. And he shot our target, the Rothschild. I'm not sure which Rothschild. And he came running out, jumped in the car, and we sped away. I'm missing a part. Right when we were getting ready for the assassination, before he went into the banquet, we were getting our guns ready. And I snapped out of altar, and I had said to him, the Rothschilds are not my effing family. And I started to explain to him about who I cared about and who my loyalties truly were. And my loyalties are not with the Rothschilds. So as far as the internal wars and the internal battles, I wish I could remember the details, because some of the memories I have a feeling of, I wish this fighting was over. And it was always among these elite families. They're always fighting with each other. And then they drag the rest of us into it. I know that's really layman, but so
no, it's true. I believe that. How old were you when you started going on these assassination missions?
In my teenage years.
As a kid.
In my teenage years, I think around the age of 18, I was tested, but then I was, how do you say it? Like, the kids were trained for different things. So I was farmed out, but back in the black operations. So when I was about 18 years old, I was accepted onto Project Seagate. And the reason why I say it that way is because they put me through testing. I had to jump out of a helicopter into water to be accepted on the Project Seagate. So I went through testing for that. And that project was where we walked through gates, but that's actually getting off your question, Shanti, so please excuse me.
No, not at all. Please, just, yeah. No, it's just interesting because obviously... Sorry, carry on. We've again got an overlap, but just carry on.
Oh, no, you didn't overlap me. After you, please.
Okay. It's just interesting for me when we looking at the kids. Obviously, they start training you at a very young age, and then they start using you for these assassination missions and stuff like that. in your teenage years. Is that right? Sort of when you get 12 and beyond, I guess, because
Yeah.
that's when you kind of do these things on your own. What was the reason? I mean, have you any idea who sent you on that mission and why you had to take that person out?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. It was
Right.
obviously somebody that did not like the Rothschilds and did not want them to succeed and knew that I would be willing to go on that assassination attempt. Because when we were speeding away, I got shot by a bullet in my stomach. And I remember looking over at the other soldier going, I'm sorry, this wasn't supposed to happen. I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing to him for getting shot. But he was like, I'll get you to help. And then I guess I went back into altar because everything goes black from there, or I must have passed out. It's hard for me to see my own blood. But the different factions were always fighting with each other. Like even when I was a kid, Majestic 12, I was up in Nelson, Canada, and Majestic 12 waited until we were being transported, ambushed us, and took us away from the one faction where we were and brought us into another faction's hands. And they called it a child rescue mission, but it wasn't a rescue mission because they just turned around and rolled us right back over into other projects. But at least in these other projects, we were not going to die compared to where we came from. But they were
What is Majestic?
Sorry, Majestic 12.
What is Majestic 12? Yeah.
It's, I think, for all that I know, it's a group of 12 men that it's a group that was put together on Jekyll Island. It's another faction of these bloodliners, another group in the government or another group that controls the government. So excuse me that I don't know more.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just interested. I mean, obviously, yeah, I understand that you would have come across things, but not necessarily know the intricate workings of them, right?
Yes, and I don't know the workings, but it does go back to the bloodlines. Like these
the
bloodlines are always fighting with each other. So, I'm probably going to get the name wrong, but for instance, Circle 9, it might be Council 9, but Circle 9, they were one of the people that was responsible for putting the human hunting parties together. But when I was older, I was brought in by my handler to that very secret society. Not necessarily to put together human hunting parties, but I was brought into that secret society for other means. And I really just remember walking in and being brought in and then standing in a circle. And I was a part of some ritual. But my brain is choppy. I pray the memory comes in clearer.
Ninth circle.
Or Council of Nine. Ninth circle.
You get on the Council of Nine, there's both. There's two. There's the Council of Nine and the Ninth Circle.
Okay, the Ninth Circle.
I know that because I've been accused of being a Ninth Circle Satanist several times. I have no idea what it is. But
okay, then.
I know that exists.
All right, it's that one.
Yeah.
But they have like a card they send you when they want to summon you, and so they do things it's a secret society. But I tell you who was in that. Honestly, I remember just the hoods over their face, and if I did see a face, it's such a glimpse. It's not enough to go on for me to really recognize that person, but I don't know who was a part of it.
What were you doing at these events? Were you part of the rituals? Were you being groomed? Were you being, I don't know, did you have another task? or were you, being groomed and shown? Were you made to be part of their creepy agenda? What were you doing at the rituals? What was your role there?
I was used in the ritual itself, being forced to be a part of it. But then I have these memories that they're choppy after the ritual. The people that performed the ritual were nice to me, but in that they would bring me to them and I would have to partake in eating what they were eating, and they would be eating part of the sacrifice the human sacrifice they just made. And then after that, I believe they were using me after that, whether it was sending me out to do stuff or whatever it was. But even though I was a part of the ritual afterwards, it seemed like they had another use for me. And they would make me promise not to say anything. So, but again, my brain is so choppy.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. And Project Seafair, is that?
Seagate?
Seagate, sorry. I couldn't
That's
see what
okay.
I wrote down there. Can you tell us more about that one?
That one, well, there's stargates, and stargates are gates that sit on the surface of the earth, and they take you to different dimensions. Other people might say they take you to different planets or off planet. And then sea gates, it's the same thing. It's a gate, but it's on the seafloor. It's underneath the ocean. So when I was about 18, I was brought onto Seagate, and I remember they brought me into the dumps, and I was placed on another team with different soldiers and different white lab coats. We walked through the gate, but how that was facilitated was there were like a row of chairs, for lack of it, not necessarily the Montauk chair, but similar. There were a row of chairs, and there was like a row of desks in front, and then beyond that was what looked like doors with water falling over it. If you've ever seen that movie in the 1980s, Stargate, that kind of gives you an idea, but it looked like a big gate. And what we would do is they brought us in front of the gate, and we would sit in the chair. And from what I remember, we used our silver cord. We left our body and walked through the gate. And the gate, as far as I'm concerned, we went searching for dolphins on Mars. We walked through that gate and we were in a completely different dimension. Other people might say a different planet. And I was with a small team on one mission. I remember doing something, and I guess I wasn't supposed to do it, but I had some sort of tool, and I took it out of my pouch and hid it next to the gate, buried it under the ground, or I did something. And I remember it was time for my team to walk back through the gate. And I had told my team before we left, when I get back through this gate, if we make it, I'm going to stand on top of my chair like Rocky, like I'm the #1 champ, and I'm going to rock my chair because we made it back. And I'm going to pull a stunt. My team said, okay, it's time to go back through. And we went back through the gate, and we made it safely back. And that's exactly what I did when I rejoined my body. I stood on top of my chair like Rocky, I am the champion. Anyway, the white lab coats got mad, and I cannot remember the details or the particulars, but the white lab coats got mad. They ripped me down off my chair. They grabbed another soldier. I think it was another female soldier, and they were kicking us and beating us, screaming, "What did you do? What did you do?" And I remember looking up saying, "I did what you told me to." And I remember thinking, I'm going to have to remember that for when I get home with my mother, because she's always screaming at me and I can just tell her, "Well, I did what you told me to," and then I'll play stupid. So I screamed at the lab coats, "I did what you told me to." And they grabbed me and the other girl soldier. They dragged us back into a separate room and they just kept beating on us. I guess I had done something where I went against orders, and I guess it was pretty severe. I don't know what it was, but I guess the team leader could better answer that question. I kind of was somebody that went against the rules, and if there was a way that I could try to escape out, I was trying it. So, but Seagate was one of the easier projects I went through. It wasn't like Project Beta. Did I tell you about Beta? I still got to tell you about the flag game. Don't let me forget. Project Beta was what I think what you guys consider Project Monarch. So like I was born into these projects, so I went through Project Beta, and this is going to get a little graphic. So Project Beta was about watching the souls intertwine. So I remember a woman and guy lab coat. I was under the age of 13. I was young. And it was my first time. I mean, first kiss, first time, first everything, first in this normal life. And, and like just to be with a boy in a regular capacity, outside of being raped by the adults. Anyway, so in Project Beta, they paired me up with a little boy, and they told me and the little boy what to do to each other in an adult sexual context. I'll leave it there. And I was so embarrassed and humiliated. I just couldn't wrap my mind around what was happening. And I remember the little boy telling me, "We have to do what they're telling us because they're not going to let us go." And I remember just burying my head in his neck, trying to forget that we were there doing what we were doing, because I just wanted to get out and go home. But what the lab coats wanted to see was for us to have a climax at the same time, because apparently when that happens to anybody, your souls like flare up and then they intertwine with each other and they make a soul tie. And it's actually an absolutely beautiful and remarkable, intimate thing that you want to have with somebody that you're married to for the rest of your life, because it's just that special. But in these projects, they take it and they twist it and they use it for evil means. So these white lab coats were setting up a soul tie between me and that little boy. And then if my memory serves me, what I think happened from there was later on when we got older and we were sent out on assignments, that little boy and I would be paired up again. Because of that soul tie, I would know how he's going to move. Where's his mind going to be? What's his next step? Because I need to be one step behind him. Like whether it's an assassination attempt or we were sent out on another mission in a large group of soldiers. But at one point, it came down to just me and one other soldier. We were sent down to the jungle to get rid of entities that do not belong here. It was an alien predator looking. Are fighting this. He's offensive. I'm defensive. And that soul tie came in handy because I needed to know which way he was going. I needed to know if he was moving right or moving left, because I'm right there, right behind him, setting up defenses as he's firing back. And that's how these projects use that soul tie, at least in the capacity of a soldier and a battlefield. if that makes any sense. So that was Project Beta for me. But they would always use those soul ties, and send us out to do different assignments.
Is that the same as twinning, what they would call twinning?
What's that? Is it?
It
I use
it
very
sounds
layman
similar.
terms.
Yeah, it sounds similar to what they do, what they call the twinning, where they connect the two souls and you operate together. Yeah, it sounds like that. Crazy. Wow.
Ooh, that just actually explained like how you said that, and you operate together. Yeah, because we would operate together.
And you mirrors and you'd operate together. And,
Yes.
so they would, and I'm sure through the one they would track the other. So they were able to obviously keep track on you through the other and through the other one through you. And obviously see how you work together on missions.
Yeah. Yes. And I have a memory of being in the jungle on a mission, getting rid of things that don't belong here. And another soldier and I guess, did this twin process, because it was him and I that was going out together in the jungle to hunt this thing down and to kill it and get rid of it. So I guess that's what you call it. Thank you. After 11 years, I don't have a word to put with
it. Well, I'm certainly not the expert. It just sounds like that to me. Interesting. You talk about obviously going into black ops, and maybe you can define for us as best you can what black ops is. Is it you guys doing things like you've explained, going to hunt these creatures of the night in jungles and caves and these kind of not earthly creatures, right? And as well as kind of do covert military ops, like high level kind of, I guess, assassinations, like you're talking about with the Rothschilds, that sort of thing. So, and also, I don't know, when we're talking about country leaders, stuff like that, there were lots of leaders in countries taken out suspiciously, right? So I'm wondering if that is the same sort of thing, if it's working only with the alien type beings or also doing military ops. And
that's, yeah, I think, well, like you have special operations. Well, then, as far as what I know black operations to be, is I was still in the military. They sent me out to Sarajevo during 91 and 92, and it was the United Nations to fly me out and fly me back home to the States. So we had a military mission over there. So black operations just means it's these projects that they don't want the public to know about. They don't explain where they get money. It's black funded. They don't talk about what they do or the details, but it is a faction of the military. It's just like you have your Army, Navy, Special Forces, you have your black operations, but it's just that part that they don't talk about what they're into. But we did regular military assignments that did not have anything to do with aliens. So that
so it's kind of more like the sovereign military, right? I mean, I'm a great believer that we have the shadow government and the shadow military, or so it's the kind of the ones that do the stuff that the public is not meant to know about. So it's not just all off-worldly type things. It's very much here in third dimension as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's very much here on this earth. it's different areas of the earth. So, but it's very much here. So, and it's not only just with aliens, but it is with politicians and people that have more money than God that we'll never hear the name of, because they hide behind people like the Rothschilds. They hide behind these politicians. They hide behind the Trilateral Commission. So,
wow, I think I really, I look forward to those names finally starting to surface at some point in the future. That's for sure. Because, I mean, I think it's so obvious for all of us that these things are actually been going on, right? And they've been going on for the longest time. And we all know we're puppets for something. We just don't know what.
yes.
I mean, yeah, yeah, that's what we puppets, and they are the puppet masters, and yeah, and we get these orders. You've seen the, um, for example, that untold story of Hitler. Now, again, for those of you, I just want to make it very clear. I understand that probably there is German propaganda in there as well. But if we can just take 50% of what's in that and actually translate it to the world we're living in today, we see exactly how World War One, as you said, I mean, that's I keep saying this. It's when I did that interview with Gary Wayne, you spoke about World War One started with two scuffling cousins, exactly, of the 1% bloodline, the elite bloodline. I mean, they were fighting. Then come World War Two, they're all after Hitler because they cannot understand how Hitler rebuilt Germany like that. So the Allies and the Russians literally collude behind Hitler's back. And a lot of the crimes that were committed, that Hitler was accused of, were actually not committed by Hitler. That was Stalin and the Allies. Actually, everyone was complicit in that atrocity. And it just shows how the gaslighting, but I maintain the reason why they were after Hitler was because Hitler was already making use of the Vril energy. I've done a show on the Vril energy, and I read a book on that thing. And then it talks about the Nazis going to find to the foot of the Himalayas where the keepers of the Vril live. And the foot of the Himalayas and the keepers of the Vril is obviously the Himalayan masters. Okay. Now, I know that because when you look at the swastika, Hitler took the swastika and he used the Hindu symbol for peace and prosperity, and he turned it. You guys have to know that. That's how symbolism works. A symbol is created in exact resonance. And when that resonance is shifted, it changes the energy of what that brings in, magnetizes, corrupts, whatever it might be. And that's exactly so. The Himalayan masters were certainly not using the energy for those nefarious purposes. They were using it in order to connect with the divine for peace, prosperity, creation, bringing that onto the earth. So there's no doubt in my mind that the Hitler was using the Vril energy already. And that's what the others wanted, because then you look after the Second World War, suddenly, boom, the Nazi scientists, hello, Operation Paperclip. I mean, I love the way they always say when the Nazis came to America, the American government kidnapped those Nazis. They kidnapped them, and so did the Russians, because there's no ways that those Germans, after the Second World War, would have willingly gone to the Americans or the Russians. And I'm telling you now, they kept them and they tortured the Vril out of them. because suddenly after that there's Eisenhower, who we know was making agreements with the Greys. Okay, where did he suddenly come on those Greys? Who were the Greys? That was the Vril that they tortured out of the Nazis. I'm telling you that now. And then we hear about Eisenhower death camps, stuff like that. And now, and every time we see, as the years go on, how that Vril has evolved from Hitler in the Second World War, using these massive tanks and machinery that no one even knew of, right? And now, hello, I'm sorry, guys. Now, y'all don't you be coming at me, but look at what's happening with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is, how many times has that been spoken about him doing those signs and chest things? Okay. Look at him with these big SpaceX things and Neuralinks and what have you. This is the evolution of that energy, and they're all fighting about it. I'm telling you, if we look at that and we see, we just step back and we look at how things have played themselves out. And there's that magical 6 million number. There was, according to what we've been told, 6 million Jews exterminated. But when we're looking at that thing, it's 6 million Ukrainians exterminated by the Russians. And then Stalin claimed to have 6 million soldiers. So suddenly, yeah, we're getting that 666 million. What's that about? We got to look at these things. This is how these guys, this is what we've been learning, guys, over the past 5 years. This is how we start reading what they do. We keep saying all the time they have the same template that they carry on over and over and over again. And that's why I say, when we look at this, the Fourth Reich, it makes so much sense, Holly, what you're saying, that you were trained for this time, because the operations you would have been training for would have been completely in line with what's going on now, right? With these super soldiers, these transhumans, robots, whatever it is. I don't know. I would love to know your take on that.
What they were going to use me for, I could
Well, just
only,
go. Go.
I could only imagine. They probably would have had me mixed in with the politicians somehow, directing a narrative. They, I guess, would have used me the way they always had, and it would be to go in, set up a situation, get the situation started, and get the ball rolling, and then take off. Get home safely. I don't know. But like in Sarajevo, it was to drive forward a narrative. I remember talking to Top Brass. There were a couple of us soldiers. I should say a few teams of us. And we were talking to Top Brass. We were given our orders, and we were sent out to assassinate certain people. And it was teams of 2. And we were to go to certain buildings in certain areas and take certain people out. I remember us walking through the stadium, shooting certain people. So as far as the future, I can only imagine what the politicians would have had me saying or doing, and what narrative they would have had me pushing forward. It probably would have been behind the scenes, more than it would have been public. It would have been more behind the scenes, like assassinating other people to make sure one person was to step in power. I know that's kind of speculation, but it's just a gut feeling that I have inside of what it would have been like. So, like, as soon as like martial law starts, I'm sure they will be having the country under different lockdowns and giving one side of the country one narrative and the other side of the country another narrative. And Anyway, I'm kind of babbling. But as far as the transgender, sorry.
No, I was just carry on.
I'm glad I landed on my own 2 feet with that one because of everything that I was programmed with in the dumbs. So I don't mean to bring it to a personal level, but I was born a girl with girl parts, and I'm heterosexual, but I like my vow of celibacy with my savior. I just prefer that. I remember the programmers as a little girl laughing at me and going, ha ha ha, you broke your penis off. So now you have to live as a girl, have sex with boys, and that's wrong. That's gross. It was never supposed to be like that. Look at you. Now you have to live as a girl. And when they program me that as a little child, that plays a lot of games. So as an adult, I mean, on a personal level, I'm glad I landed on my feet and I did not get caught up with any of those other agendas, just based off of what I was programmed with, and also the men and women politicians raping me. Because I remember one woman raping me that looked just like Hillary Clinton or Meryl Streep. I don't know. To me, those two look alike. But anyway, I remember thinking to myself, I cannot understand this. I guess I'm a boy if a woman is raping me. And as a small child, that's how I came to terms with it, was in my head. I guess I was a little boy because that's the only reason why a grown woman would be doing that to me. So, but the bigger picture is transhumanism. They're driving everybody forward. I mean, first it was to get your cell phones in your hand, but now it's to take that technology and get it into your body. Sorry. Here I am babbling still.
No, you're entitled to babble. No, it makes obviously perfect sense because everything just takes it a little bit further, you know. It's just, and that's why I say, when we're looking, I mean, taking us back to saying what you were saying earlier on about the Fourth Reich, it so makes sense to me. If you were trained to be an agent, a sleeper agent, whatever they call it, and to be woken up now, this to me would be the evolution of that energy, the missions and stuff you guys were actually sent on. And it's so, it's what you're saying. They, with the altars, how they confuse you. You're a girl, you're a boy. Look at you. Look what you did to yourself. Oh dear, now you got to be a girl. I mean, and especially when you've got, the altars gang, I would imagine that creates so much trauma and so much confusion. So, I mean, what were you largely living as, though, in the projects? Were you being recognized as a girl, female?
Oh, yeah.
Or were they...
Yeah.
Okay, so they were using you as a female, not making you think you're a boy and dressing you like a boy or whatever. I'm not sure how these things work.
Well, in the programs, like when they were torturing us kids, they would dress me as a boy and do that to the other little girls, but it was to break them down mentally. It was just to break us down. But when I was sent out on missions and assignments and just regularly, yes, I was always recognized as a girl. But in my own personal life, like inside, when I look at the things that happened to me, I'm really glad I kind of landed on my feet, because some of my other friends, the way I see it, they're suffering because these projects really confuse them. I don't know. I'm not trying to be rude or inconsiderate, but so.
Well, I think, it's what we're hearing. This whole, for example, the Stranger Things series is really created from the Montauk chair. Yep. And when we're looking, I mean, they've turned it into a science fiction series. but that was created from the torture of children. And how many children died in these projects? I mean, you're not the only. I mean, Chris Latera was talking exactly the same about, when you were saying what was in the cages, for example, the kids in the cages. I mean, he was speaking about the one guy hanging upside down, and they'd gutted him and everything, and he was just lying there bleeding, hanging there bleeding. And they're sitting in these cages. They are so traumatized. And then afterwards, strapped to this freezing cold bed, and you don't know what's happening next. You've been beaten up, traumatized to within an inch of your life, and then they come with these bright lights. You have no idea who's on the other side of that light. You have no idea what's happening. Then they're strapping things to your head and all sorts of things into every orifice of your body, and then start doing these crazy mind control. It's amazing that you guys have actually survived. How so many of you survivors actually got through that is a miracle. And I say that every day, and I honor each and every one of you each and every day, because to think about the horrors that children have endured, and especially, I mean, we know the reasons they use the kids is obviously because of the purity and the youth, but because kids also get scared, right? You can get a kid to become fearful much easier than an adult. So they can take the kids to such a level of insanity, almost of fear, that it sends you into a psychosis that you can never come out of. I mean, I shudder to think not just how many people, kids, and I'm talking kids, yeah, have not only died and tortured, and God knows where they might be, somewhere out there on some mind control exploration, right? They never come back from. And what are the parents even told? Because a lot of these parents, I know a lot of the kids were trafficked into these programs, yes, but there are also, I mean, it's well documented from the 60s that parents willingly signed their children up for these programs because the CIA conned them in such a way to make them believe that your kid's going to turn into a genius. Your kid's going to become a genius. We're going to do this, all this overwhelming stuff. And they got paid. The parents got paid for this. Yeah, parents got paid for
Are
this.
the kids a genius?
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
My goodness, they must have they must have it really rough in their adulthood. Our childhoods are filled with so much trauma that we spend our adulthoods just trying to heal from all the trauma from our childhoods.
Exactly. And, when we're looking at who's ruling the world, the 1% that's ruling the world, and who's behind them, and these entities and energies that are really pulling the strings, it's
Yeah.
how on earth do we have a normal, abundant, loving society? But that is up to us. We have to recognize truth now. We've got to take our own spiritual fitness and spiritual well-being into our own hands. And we really have to collapse what they've created. We can't meet them with violence. We can't. It doesn't work. Violence meeting violence does not work. We have to change our frequency individually, each and every one of us individually. Stop sensation seeking, take what we've heard, apply it, and walk our path that we are here for. And in so doing, we raise our desire to live, be happy, joyful, which is these things which are things, these creatures of the night, those energies are indigestible to them. They cannot tolerate joy and happiness and abundance and freedom. They can't. They stay away from you. And the more of us who become that, we collapse that grid that they're currently operating on. We don't have to chop heads off and go into spiritual warfare. I say this all the time. We have to do the opposite of that. We've got to find peace within ourselves, and our vibration collapses that grid. It really literally collapses the grid. No chopping off demons' heads. Please, let's just stop that now. We need to stop that. Really, we do. That's what creates more of that negativity. Think energy. More of that negativity. We don't need it. We don't. Anyway, Holly, I wanted to ask you actually one or two more things. I'm sorry, is there anything else you wanted to say? I feel like I've been rambling there.
No, I love you. I love talking to you, Shanti. I really do. So, no, I enjoy our time together. So please.
Even when I go against everything every religious teacher has ever taught you. I'm so happy. Oh God, I don't think you guys understand how glad I am. I never had any religious indoctrination. Zero, zero, zero. My parents gave us a choice. They said, you can if you want. My father was at the Catholic convent with the nuns. He said, there's no ways my kids are going to a convent. There's no ways they're going to church. There's no ways you're going to be forced to do anything. So we got to choose. We just loved life. We were taught to respect, to be courteous, to respect our elders, to be kind, to love animals, to just love life and each other, you know. And that's what we do, all of us. We're 6 kids and we're all thriving and we're all good and we've all got great lives, you know. And it's amazing when we can just thrive on the fact that we're alive and we get to be living at this time, in this place, in this now. And we are all uncovering this disgusting, sickening, putrid evil. And together, we're healing. We are all healing together. And the more of us who heal, we automatically send that healing into the grids of the earth. We don't even have to try. It just occurs of itself. And that healing that we do, that automatically sends that into the grids of the earth, is what collapses their grid. We don't have to chop their heads off. They want us to. That's what keeps them strong. They want us to. They want us to war with them. We don't war, not in that way. Just my 5 cents worth. Take it, use it, don't use it. See what works for you. Cool. I want to just see if there's anything. No. I'm
kidding.
What, Dolly?
I said I'm violent, so I'm in chopping heads. No, I'm kidding. I'm just. But no, I really appreciate what you say, because like lately, just trying to work out of my own muck and mire to have a smile and to feel happiness and to feel freedom and peace. It's definitely hard work, but thank you for assisting me too lately, because I've definitely felt better, Shanti. So thank you.
Well, I can certainly see you thriving, hon. I can certainly see you thriving. Lovely. Anyway, but it's been wonderful to chat with you again, and we're going to catch up with you again next week and talk about more things.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if there's anything you wanted to. I was just making some notes here, so I think I've kind of touched on the things that I wanted to. Yeah,
Okay.
you know, guys, what we can do is, I mean, I have done a show with Dr. Dennis Carroll. If you look on the channel, um, we have beautiful playlists of all our guests, so it makes it a lot easier for you to then find it. So check the playlists. There was a show that I did, 3 parts with Dr. Dennis Carroll, a few maybe 2 or 3 months back, a few months back, and we spoke about the raw energy. I also watched a number of documentaries on it, and it's absolutely, for me, it just went, everything made sense. And then I saw why Hitler made the swastika, which is and now it's like the Hindus are being accused of being evil, and it's the opposite. It's the opposite. That's why they're so dead against Eastern teachings, because the Eastern teachings have been using, and I don't believe they call it the Vril. I would imagine the Vril is the opposite. But this life force energy to find inner peace, divine healing, balance. I mean, how do you think these yogi masters levitate? No, they don't have demons. That's what guys are taught to believe. They don't have demons. You don't get demons when you do yoga. In fact, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. They don't want you to do it because it empowers us to know this knowledge that the Himalayan masters teach us. So they've now made it into something it's not. So I think it's really a time for truth. It's a time for whether you actually agree or not is fine. No one has to agree with everyone, but as long as we can just keep an open mind and understand, you know, that there's a lot of roads that lead us to the top of the mountain, not just one. Yeah, Holly, thank you. It's been wonderful having you again, and
Thank
I
you.
look forward to next week.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to everyone in your chat room. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. God bless you. Take good care. And I shall see you, members, tomorrow at Beverly Roads. We're going to have some cool Q&A there. So join us. Goodbye.